What's going on, everybody out there, and welcome back to another episode of the Dark Avenger comic book review, the series where I talk about all the books I read in the previous week. In this review, we're finally catching up because I had gotten sick and I fell a week behind. This review, we're talking about books that were released on September 27th, 2023, the last week of September, moving into October, which is spooky month. And in this review, I have 9 books. It was a very short week, but it was still a very good week. So we're going to waste no time. We're going to get into it. As I told all of you in the last review, this review, again, no graphics are going to be coming up. However, now that this review is getting out early enough, I'm going right into this week's books, and next week's review should be back to the regular format with the graphics and everything attached to it. So, Independence first. Belle Cursed, #1. Again, this is from Zenescope. I love the book. I love the artwork in the book. But because I wasn't here earlier on, there were certain things going on in the book I really didn't know about because I wasn't there when Belle was first introduced to Zenescope. However, it wasn't hard to jump into this book and get into the story. I had a feeling from the start of the book when Belle got knocked out that, and you get little hints about it throughout the book where random stuff would happen. And I started reading. I think by the time I got halfway through the book, I said, I wonder if she's in a dream or if this is all part of her subconscious. And lo and behold, by the end of the book, we find out it was. And there was a lot involving her brother, who was cursed, and apparently her existing upsets someone. And as long as she does exist, this person or these people are going to make sure that all the people Belle cares about are either hurt or dead until Belle either kills herself or Belle no longer exists. And it all ends with a letter from her aunt. I really like this book. I enjoyed it immensely. Highly recommend it. However, if you're going to be new like myself, look into some of the other Belle books. So this way you can kind of get a bit of an idea of what's going on and you get a little bit more of a background. I personally would have loved and would have and still probably will go back and read some of the older Belle issues just to kind of get her background. Christopher Chaos, issue #4. This was, I swear, every time I read this book, it's like this. So the last issue, they were being chased by the hunters of monsters, and they ended up getting saved. They get saved. Of course, one of them still wants to go back and fight because they just lost their friend Hayden. Hayden was killed. So one of them wants revenge. The other two kind of don't want to be involved. Christopher especially does not want to be involved. And they all go their separate ways. You have this police officer and you have the group that are hunting the monsters. You get a lot of background and a lot of chatter with that. And as a matter of fact, the very last page involves something from that. But anyway, they all kind of, I guess, come to the conclusion that they want to do something to stop these hunters for their friend Hayden. So they get together and find the person that saved them, the one that told them to all go into hiding and not to pursue the people that were pursuing them. They go to him to look for answers because they have a lot of questions and they want answers. And he tells them, come on in and we'll get some answers. And I'll give you all the answers you want. Now, there's a reporter woman who's been chasing them throughout the book. And the police officer told her not to really get involved. The police officer ended up following her. And now they know where all of the people were that were involved in the school problems. And it ends with the police officers surrounding the building. And then we get introduced to another character who's going to be a main hunter for the monsters, the Cardinal. I love it. I found out this is a miniseries. I'm sad, but that doesn't mean it's only a one volume and one and done. Could always come back for another volume. I love this issue. If you've been missing out, definitely try out Christopher Chaos. I really have been enjoying this series immensely, and not just because of my name. That brought me in. The story hooked me. Marvel Comics time. Miss Marvel, the New Mutant, issue #2. I feel like this book crossed over a lot with the stuff that's going on in X-Men and Invincible Iron Man, because in this book you get to see a lot of Emma Frost, you get to see a lot of Tony Stark. And don't read this book before you read Invincible Iron Man. Honestly, I should have done this in reverse. Thinking about it now, Invincible Iron Man I'm going to review next, but don't read this book before you read Invincible Iron Man, because in this book, a lot of the not the fallout, but a lot of the things that happen in Iron Man 10 lead then into this book, or else you're going to be lost. Why is Emma Frost with Iron Man? Why are they masquerading as an engaged couple? What's going on? And again, this is the issue I have with the X-Men books right now. The miniseries, the ongoing series, and now Invincible Iron Man himself is part of this big Fall of X saga or event. It's an event. This big saga event. And if you miss out on one book, another book will try to catch you up as much as it can, but you won't have all the information unless you read the other books. And again, this is where I think Marvel has their biggest issue. And I've talked about this before. I'm sorry, I'm talking about it again. You're having this big X-Men event, but you have like 10 X-Men books plus more miniseries. It's an expensive investment, and there's no promise that you're going to love this event from beginning to end. Some people don't agree with this event. Some people are okay with this, but are saying there's way too many issues. Me, I'm just your everyday kid from Brooklyn who loves reading comics, and I'm just reading and going with the flow with as many of the books that are involved in X-Men as possible. Am I reading everything? No. Thank God most of the books that I am reading collide with one another, so I don't have to worry about, well, how is this happening, or where is that happening, or why is this happening? Because the books I'm reading all kind of are under the same little dome, under the giant dome. But anyway, Miss Marvel goes to Emma Frost for advice. She's having problems with dreaming. I love how there's still that thing with her and Bruno going on, where people are saying they're basically dating, even though they say they're just friends. No, they're not. And then you have this woman who's been spying on Miss Marvel, and by the end of the issue, she's been waiting for Miss Marvel to sleep. So I have a feeling that this person from Orchid is actually messing with Miss Marvel's dreams. And there's something in Miss Marvel's dreams that are trying to give her a message. We're going to find out what it is. And Bruno has her hooked up to a machine to monitor her dreams. So it'll be an interesting next issue. I've been enjoying it. If you like Miss Marvel, again, just be aware that there's a lot of Fall of X connections in here, that if you're not reading X-Men and Iron Man, you're going to be a little bit lost. Speaking of, Invincible Iron Man issue number 10, this time from the point of view in the beginning of the book of Tony. And Tony is at this party. He sees, I keep forgetting this dude's name. I'm sorry. Eventually it'll stick. It's newer for me. But he sees him at the party. He knows that Rhodey's about to get jumped. But we find out that earlier on, he went to the Kingpin for help. And the Kingpin has help for Rhodey while he's stuck in jail. Now Rhodey has protection, so Rhodey doesn't have to worry about being killed or being severely beaten up. So we then fast forward to Tony seeing Emma see this person and stopping her, and then we get back to where the last issue ended, where he was proposing to her. And she says yes. And then he decides to orchestrate a Vegas wedding in order for them to get all the information they need from this person. And he shows up to the wedding. Emma Frost does her thing. They go into his mind. We find out he's obsessed with Tony Stark's father. Why he hates X-Men so much and mutants. It's because his parents were mutants and he wasn't. Boo-hoo, cry me a river. And that's what his whole vendetta is. They get all the information they need. They come out. And that's kind of how the book ends. However, Tony and Emma might be looking into getting a specific metal only mutants can get their hands on for new armor. Because right now he's under the facade of being retired, even though he really isn't. And we get to see a little bit of the new armor, which I thought was absolutely awesome. Loving it, but again, it's connected to X-Men. Pick your poison. Immortal Thor issue number 2. I thought that this would be the book where I might have ended up dropping. I don't know why. I had that doubt because Thor is either hit or miss. In this book, he has to tap into the All-Father powers that he got from his father. And unfortunately, the more he uses All-Father's powers, the more his body becomes exhausted and he has to do I forget what it's called, the something rest, the forever rest or the deep sleep, whatever it's called. And he uses so much of his All-Father powers that is about to happen. He's able to defeat the god, but now he has to figure out what to do because he is about to fall asleep. And the longer he fights it, the longer the sleep's going to be and the deeper the sleep is going to be. So we see Loki show up at the end and he entrusts himself to Loki. And spoiler, well, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm just going to say this. It wasn't Loki. And this is when Thor, I believe, falls asleep to the deep sleep, whatever it's called. Love the artwork, love the story. Definitely will be coming back for the next issue. A real enjoyment. Spider-Man India issue number 4. I loved it. So you got Pete fighting the owner of the company he works for, who is also in cahoots with the Lizard. And he saw what happened in the first issue where they tried to convert Pete. And for some reason, there's something that stopped him. And he noticed the spirit around Pete. And he was questioning, what is that? There's something special about you. And he wants to experiment on, I don't think it's Pete, I'm sorry, on Pavid. And I love how the fight between between Spider-Man, the owner, and the Lizard went, because he found a way to distract them long enough to change into his Spider-Man outfit. And the fight starts happening. Unfortunately, he kind of loses in the end to the Lizard. You see him getting chased off, getting dragged off by the Lizard. Funny enough, the next issue is only in 2 weeks. Go figure. So we get the grand finale, and apparently the comic cover shows a new costume. Definitely looking forward to it. It's going to be more like the costume from the Across the Spider-Verse movie. I'm definitely down for it. I'm loving it. If you like Spider-Man India, definitely grab this miniseries. The next issue is the final of the miniseries. This I've been looking forward to, but the price tag hurts. Ultimate Invasion issue number 4. The $8.99 price tag hurts, but this was a really good event. Howard Stark ends up turning on the Maker and teaming up with the Reed Richards from that world, who has the Doctor Doom mask on. And they go against the Maker, try to stop the Maker, and Howard lets all of the Avengers from the future who have been invading to stop the Maker come in and bring Kang in as well. And he's able to stop both the Maker and Kang. Kang destroys the Maker, and then Howard Stark's able to stop Kang. And it ends with Howard Stark's son, Tony, taking up the mantle, not of Iron Man, because in this universe, this remade Ultimate Universe, his father was Iron Man. So Tony becomes Iron Lad. And he starts to time travel to correct the mistakes that were made. And the book ends with him showing up to Captain America frozen in the ice. So I don't know where Ultimate Universe is going to be going. However, from what it looks like, first of all, oh God, why did it leave my mind? One of the cities, I believe it's Dr. Doom City, Latveria, is under a shield now, which was set in motion by the Reed Richards of that universe. They shielded it away, and it will be up for 2 years. So I'm thinking the Ultimate Universe is going to be what happens in that universe throughout the next 2 years that lead to the shield coming down again, because it's protecting something and we don't know what it is. So this drops all the seeds in for Ultimate Universe. You got Tony time traveling, looking to get all the Avengers back, maybe stopping the Maker from making all the changes he did. You've got the shield up over Latveria. What is that hiding? And then you've got all the leaders that the Maker brought together now having to figure out how to run the world now that the Maker's gone. And now that things are very, very different, I'm very interested. We'll come back for Ultimate Universe issue number 1. However, the price tag on this issue, I bought it digitally. I'm going to wait for a deep, deep sale before I get a physical copy. An $8.99 book, while this was great to have the Ultimate Universe somehow revitalized, that is a lot of money for a book. And I will say Marvel does this a lot with their books, making them $9 lately. So you got to really pick and choose which books you want. While I did enjoy it and I do recommend it, if you didn't get it through previews where you got that sale of 30 to 40% off, might be something you want to wait on until the price goes down. Now we go to DC Comics for 2 books. Flash issue number 1. I'm not a fan of the artwork. I'm really not a fan of the artwork. I like that Wally is spearheading the book, and you can see that him and his wife are having issues because she had another baby, and now that, while she was pregnant, she had all the Speed Force powers, and now she doesn't again, and she's asking Wally to have the freedom to kind of do some things that she wants. You can see that there's a little tension there. And then you also have the Speed Force making an appearance, and you get to see Gorilla Grodd and stuff like that. The artwork kind of pulled me out of the book a bit. I don't know. I want to say I'm coming back for the next issue, but I don't know when it comes to the artwork how I feel about The Flash. The story is intriguing. I'm very interested, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. When it comes to The Flash, we'll have to see how it goes because I'm not too sure when it comes to The Flash. The story looked interesting, but anyway, Action Comics number 1057. We got 3 stories in it. Superman and Lois number 2. We've got a Superboy story, and then the continuation of Action Comics. So we have a person who is the leader of this terrorist group right now. Her name is Nora Stone, and she's the part of, I'm trying to remember the name of, I'm looking up the name with what the group was called, but it's the group that's against the aliens being on Earth. And I like that the stories involve Blue Earth. Okay, it was called Blue Earth. So the leader of Blue Earth will do an interview, but it has to be with Clark, and it has to be only with Clark. So she does the interview, and she explains. She says a lot of things, but because Clark has super hearing, he can tell when she's lying, and everything she's talking about is a lie. She knew about the attack on Steelworks. She was involved with it. She knows that what she's saying is bull. She knows that her organization is not a peaceful organization, and the people that are doing stuff are not acting on their own. They're acting on the wishes of Blue Earth, and it's just a big organization trying to cause an issue with the aliens that are on Earth to push them out and destroy everything. And I'm very down for this story. I'm very excited to see where this goes, because Clark ends up getting attacked by this woman's bodyguard who knows Clark is Superman, which means she might know that Clark is Superman. And he's also a morpher. He's able to turn himself into a lookalike of Superman. And it ends with that. I'm very interested in seeing the next part. The second story is the conclusion to Lois and Clark 2, where Superman saves his son. Doom Slayer ends up being teleported away, and that princess that he saves his son from ends up getting her, and now she is going to use him to prove that she's not the laughing stock of her galaxies or whatever. And that's where the story leaves off. The third story has to be my favorite out of the 2. The main story, of course, is the main story, and it's a Connor story. Connor is dealing with being in the shadow of Superman and being Superboy. And another thing I like is, unfortunately, Connor is no longer dating Cassie. He's dating Miss Martian, which goes a little bit more with the animated series we have where it was Connor and Miss Martian dating in Young Justice. I like that. And I like that they translated it into the comics. I still question how he has all the piercings on his face that he has. But again, comic book magic. And he dyes his hair. He finds a way to dye his hair because he wants to be different. He doesn't want to be Clark 2.0. And I love how Miss Martian goes into his mind because he keeps having the same dream over and over again. And it's basically the fight between Superman and Doomsday, except it's him instead of Superman. And he dies and there's a monument, but what happens next? He doesn't want to be Superboy for the rest of his life. And now it ends with him kind of finally saying, okay, I'm done being Superman's shadow. And now we're going to see where this miniseries goes. He's going to be in Speed Force. I might read that digitally. It doesn't look like it really involves him too much anyway. And then I believe he's also going to be somewhere else. So I'll check out both. But I love how in this book you got to see Connor through the ages. Also, there's a big splash page of all the different versions of Connor, even the new 52 one that we don't talk about. I'm really invested in seeing what happens next. And maybe, I hate to say, I'm nervous to see if Connor does break away from the Superboy title, what his new title will be. But maybe we'll get an ongoing series from that. And I am totally down. And I will be buying every single issue because I love Connor. Connor is one of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite character out of the Superman family. And I would definitely, as long as the story doesn't destroy Connor, be down to buying, reading, and talking about an ongoing Superboy or Connor series, depending on whatever name he goes by. If he doesn't stick with Superboy, he might. I would be down for an ongoing Superboy series. And with that, that is it for this review. We've caught up. Look forward to the next review being, God willing, on time. Till then, links in the description below for all my social medias, for my Twitch as well. We're going to be doing a lot of horror stuff since we're in spooky month. Look forward to all that. Till next time, everybody, take care. Keep reading, keep collecting, and I will see all of you really soon in the next one. Take care, everybody.